Four maps, one territory. That's the whole idea of this episode. When people first wade into AI security, they drown in acronyms. OWASP this, NIST that, Atlas, ISO numbers, and they assume these are rival frameworks fighting for the same job. They're not. They're four maps of the same territory, each drawn for a different question. One lists the risks. One thinks like the attacker. One runs your risk management process. One is the management system the whole thing lives inside. By the end of the next 10 minutes, you'll know exactly which map to pull out when, and you'll have the vocabulary we use for the rest of this series. So let me tell you where we're headed. By the end of this episode, you'll be able to name what each of these four frameworks is actually for, pick the right one for a given question, and read the rest of the series fluently, because we're going to keep citing these by name. Here's the thesis to keep in mind. SecAI Plus is, at its heart, security architecture for AI plus framework fluency. These four maps are the fluency half. Every later episode hangs its controls off one of them. And let me be clear about scope, because it matters. Today is orientation to the maps, not a governance deep dive. The compliance and governance machinery, the RMF in real depth, ISO 42001 audits, the EU AI Act, all gets its own domain later, in episodes 16 through 18. Right now, we're just learning what's on each map and when to open it. Let's start with map number 1, the OWASP Top 10 for LLM applications. This one is a risk taxonomy. What it's for is simple. It's a named, ranked list of the most common and most impactful risks in LLM-powered applications. Think of it as the What Can Go Wrong catalog, a shared dictionary so that two engineers mean the same thing when one of them says, "That's an LLM 01." When do you reach for it? When you're threat modeling a feature, writing a security review, or tagging a finding. It's developer-facing and application-facing. It lives close to the code. Let me walk the 2025 list at orientation depth. Don't memorize this, just learn to recognize it. LLM 01 is prompt injection. LLM 02 is sensitive information disclosure. LLM 03 is supply chain. LLM 04 is data and model poisoning. LLM 05 is improper output handling. LLM 06 is excessive agency. LLM 07 is system prompt leakage. LLM 08 is vector and embedding weaknesses. LLM 09 is misinformation. And LLM 10 is unbounded consumption. Here's a bit of foreshadowing. Nearly every episode in our threats domain is just one of these entries zoomed all the way in. Injection, in episodes 6 and 7, is LLM 01. Poisoning, in episode 8, is LLM 04. Supply chain, in episode 9, is LLM 03. And agents, in episode 11, are LLM 06. So what is the OWASP Top 10 for LLM applications? It's a community-built, regularly updated list of the 10 most critical security risks in applications that use large language models. Think of it as the shared vocabulary for what can go wrong. A risk taxonomy you use to name, prioritize, and talk about threats. It is not a process, and it is not a control set. Now, map number 2, MITRE ATLAS, the adversary model. What this one is for is the attacker's eye view of AI. It's a knowledge base of real adversary tactics and techniques against machine learning systems, modeled the same way MITRE ATT and CK does for enterprise IT. Where OWASP says, "Here are the risks you're exposed to," Atlas says, "Here is how an adversary actually behaves, step by step." When do you reach for it? When you're red teaming, doing detection engineering, or working threat intel. Anytime you want to think in terms of attacker behaviors and map your detections back to them. The techniques carry IDs that look like AML.T followed by 4 digits. A few well-known ones. AML.T0051 is LLM prompt injection. AML.T0057 is LLM data leakage. AML.T0020 is poison training data. And AML.T0024 is exfiltration via ML inference API. Again, recognize the shape of the ID. Don't try to memorize the catalog. And here's the pairing to hold on to. OWASP is the risks you're exposed to, and Atlas is the adversary who exploits them. One thing worth flagging for the exam: don't confuse the categories. A risk taxonomy, like OWASP for LLMs, tells you what can go wrong. An adversary model, like MITRE ATLAS, tells you how an attacker gets there. A risk management process, like the NIST AI RMF, tells you how your organization decides and acts. And a management system, like ISO/IEC 42001, is the governance structure it all lives inside. So if a question hands you a scenario, match it to the framework whose job fits the scenario, not just the one with the most familiar-looking words in it. That brings us to maps 3 and 4 together, because they're a natural pair. Map 3 is the NIST AI RMF, the Risk Management Process. It's a voluntary framework published as NIST AI 100-1, and it's organized around 4 functions that run as a continuous loop. Govern is the culture and accountability that wraps around everything else. Map is where you understand context and surface the risks. Measure is where you assess and track them. And manage is where you prioritize, treat, and monitor. There's also a generative AI profile, NIST AI 600-1, that takes those same 4 functions and applies them specifically to generative AI risks. Reach for the RMF when the question is, how do we run AI risk as an ongoing practice? Map 4 is ISO/IEC 42001, published in 2023, the management system. It's the first international standard for an AI management system, an AIMS, and it's certifiable, in the same family as ISO 27001 is for information security. It's the structure an organization stands up to govern AI responsibly across its whole life cycle: the policies, the roles, the objectives, the continual improvement. Reach for it when the question is organizational and auditable. How do we govern AI as a system you can certify against? And one honorable mention to keep your vocabulary complete: NIST CSF 2.0, with its functions govern, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover, is your general cybersecurity backbone. We'll crosswalk AI controls back to it, especially on the SOC and governance episodes. And to say the scope boundary out loud one more time, we are orienting here. The deep mechanics of the RMF and 42001 are Domain 4 territory, episodes 16 through 18. So what is the NIST AI Risk Management Framework? It's a voluntary U.S. framework for identifying and managing the risks of AI systems, organized around 4 functions: govern, map, measure, and manage. It's not a list of risks, and it's not a checklist of controls. It's the process an organization uses to handle AI risk continuously, from understanding the context all the way through to mitigation. Now let's put them all on one map. 4 maps, 1 territory. Picture a 2x2, sorted by what kind of answer each framework gives and who uses it. In the first quadrant, the risk taxonomy. That's the OWASP top 10 for LLMs, telling you what can go wrong and its application and developer facing. In the second, the adversary model. That's MITRE ATLAS, telling you how an attacker behaves, and it's for your red team and your detection engineers. In the third, the risk management process. That's the NIST AI RMF, telling you how you decide and act on risk, and it's program facing. And in the fourth, the management system. That's ISO/IEC 42001, telling you how you govern all of it as an auditable system, and it's organization facing. And notice how they interlock. Atlas techniques exploit OWASP risks. The RMF is the process that decides what to do about both of them. ISO 42001 is the management system that makes the RMF actually stick. And NIST CSF 2.0 is the broader cyber backbone you map all of it onto. Here's the thesis landed. Knowing which map answers which question is the framework fluency half of thinking like an AI security architect. We'll be pointing back at this 2x2 all series long. Let me leave you with 3 takeaways. 1. These 4 frameworks aren't rivals. They're 4 maps of one territory, each built for a different question. 2. Match the map to the job. OWASP for LLMs names the risks. MITRE ATLAS models the adversary. The NIST AI RMF runs the risk process. And ISO 42001 is the management system it all lives in. 3. This is the shared vocabulary for everything ahead. So when later episodes say, "That's an LLM01," or "That's a manage activity," you'll know exactly which map we just opened. Next up is Episode 4, Securing the AI Lifecycle and Data, where we start applying these maps to real controls across the AI lifecycle. If this helped, subscribe and drop a question in the comments. That's the architecture lens. I'll see you in the next one.